What is up, Bitcoiners? Welcome back to Bitcoin and Markets. My name is Ansel Lindner. Happy Monday. Monday is Bitcoin Fundamentals Day. So that's when I put out my free newsletter, the Bitcoin Fundamentals Report. We're going to go over that, read through that and everything. A little bit flustered here because I just had to rush home through heavy storms on a bike. And my office is kind of torn up because, as you can see, I'm painting behind me, but we will make it work today. All right, so Bitcoin Fundamentals Report. Let's share the screen. And I will actually turn down that audio. I had to put the music on. All right, so here is the homepage, bitcoinandmarkets.com. You can follow me there for all of my stuff. And Mondays, I put out the Fundamentals Report. Before we do that, let's do a quick look at the price. Here is the daily candle down, broke 25,000, back up above 25,000 right now, but we'll see if that holds. I think that region was just really a magnet for price. A lot of the round number of 25,000, the previous importance of it back here in June. I think a lot of people just kind of honed in on that. There was a lot of different, it was a Schelling point on the chart, basically is what I'm trying to say. And we'll see if we can hold that and bounce from here, but it's looking pretty weak. We will cover all of this in the Fundamentals Report though. So let me click into here. On the website too, you can sign up for the free weekly newsletter. You can sign up to become a paid supporter. That helps support my content that I put out, several live streams a week, plus a couple different reports and different writings, blog posts and stuff. Also the price forecast competition. So once a month, members on the website can put in a forecast for what the price will be at the end of the month. And the person that's closest gets $20 in sats over the Lightning Network. So check that out if you would like to have a little bit of fun guessing the price and also support quality content. Okay, so Bitcoin Fundamentals Report 256. Always start with a meme. I thought this was interesting because, Bitcoin, what's this show, the Squid Games or whatever, that when he held him up from getting shot if he moved, and that's kind of what Bitcoin is doing to the world. Bitcoin is holding us up, keeping it from the future just being so doom and gloom that things fall apart, right? And Bitcoin is that light at the end of the tunnel. All right. Moving down here, snapshot of Bitcoin. Can I zoom in on this a little bit? So weekly trend, flat to down. Media sentiment is neutral. I did see something on MSNBC this morning. It was that Marcus David or David Marcus, whatever. And he was saying he was being real big bull on Bitcoin. So there is some positive press out there. But overall, I say that the media sentiment is neutral. All right, network traffic is elevated. We're going to take a look at the mempool and fees and all of that. Mining industry is still solid, and there's 218 days until the halving, guys. It's getting close. It's getting close. Weekly price at the time of writing was 25,161. That's down 700 from last issue. So we did start seeing some price movement, right? For weeks and weeks, it was right around 26,000 plus or minus 100. And this week we've actually had some price movement, but I guess it's in the wrong direction that people don't want. But whatever. And here we did break the $500 billion market cap to the downside. It had been holding that 500 trillion for a long time, and that finally broke. We'll see if we get a bounce here though. Satoshis per dollar, 39.76, and one finny is $2.51. Mining sector about 7 days ago, 6-7 days ago, the difficulty adjusted down 2.64%, and it is on pace to go down another 1% in another week from now, but we'll see. When price is going down, hash rate might, marginal hash rate might come off, and this might increase, down 3-4% maybe, but we will see. Mempool is over 200 megabytes according to mempool.space. Fees to get in the next block, 77 cents, which comes out to it's 22 sats per virtual byte, which comes out to 77 cents roughly per transaction. And that is also the median fee on the network right now. Lightning capacity, this was surprising to me. It went up by almost 1% on both of these metrics here. So capacity went up by 34 Bitcoins, up to 4790. And the number of channels had a pretty big jump, 500 plus 500 channels, almost a full percent, up to 67,295. But again, I'm not a Lightning hater. I'm just maybe a Lightning realist, where we need to 10x that number of channels and capacity. And then we'll start really being able to say that Lightning is being adopted. All right. In case you missed it, this section, I just put all the stuff I did pretty much last week. So Market Pro number 27, rumblings of a bullish shift. So I went through a bunch of different indicators, oscillators, time frames, all that for Bitcoin, and tried to piece together what we see happening. The overall price narrative has remained somewhat the same. I've been talking about 25,000 for a long time. Now that we've touched it, will we get a bounce? Will we get a wick and a bounce? We'll see. That's what we're kind of waiting for. But anyway, check out Market Pro. That's for my premium newsletter people. Appreciate all the signups recently. Since FedWatch getting dropped off Bitcoin Magazine, I've had several new monthly signups, and so I appreciate all you guys that do support the show. Community streams and podcasts last week. Of course, I'm doing these streams like this Monday, Wednesday, Friday usually. Thursday was FedWatch. I'm going to shift that into probably being just a recurring segment on this show. So maybe 4 live streams a week, and I turn at least half of those into podcast versions. So you can check out the live streams and also the podcast feed if you miss those. Also, the demographic collapse, why should we care? I put that out for the public this week. It has been for paid members for about a week, and now it's out to the public. So you guys can check that out if you'd like to. Okay, let's get into the main headlines of the day or the week. And it's a slow week for Bitcoin headlines. Again, another slow week. I mean, one of the big stories was that somebody overpaid and it wasn't 10, it's 19 Bitcoins. And that news has gone viral for 24 hours and people keep talking about it. That just shows how little is going on in this space. But on the bright side, we can use it to explore related topics to my thesis, which is deflation, deglobalization, depopulation, and how Bitcoin is the answer. So yeah, I talked about that demographics post that I just put out. All right, Bitcoin security budget. I talked about this last week on a podcast or on a live stream. Was it Wednesday? I can't remember now if it was Wednesday or Friday, but I did talk about the Bitcoin security budget, and it has been out. Lots of people have been talking about this going back and forth. I even posted another video onto Telegram, which you guys can go check out the Telegram channel. It's t.me/Bitcoin and markets to find that. When I see videos or tweets or anything to do with my thesis or anything funny even, I put that in Telegram, and I did find this other good one about security budget, and we kind of went back and forth on the Telegram. So guys, check out Telegram, join the community. All right, let's keep going. What has started sticking out to me is the Gnostic Marxist aspect of these attacks. And if you guys have been following me about this, I did point this out. I even pointed this out to Pierre, that there is a very similar to the globalist way that the globalists talk about all their plans. It's the same way that these attackers do. They use the exact same strategy. So I say it's cult-like behavior. It's characterized by someone saying they know the real Gnostic truth, and if you follow them, they'll take you to heaven on earth or utopia. A glaring example of this is climate alarmism, but the same framework is at play in the drive chain debate. The bad actors leading this attack are the only ones clear-minded enough to see the coming disaster of Bitcoin's security budget. They created a problem that only they can see with their superior wisdom. Then they claim their pre-planned solution to the problem that doesn't exist is the only way forward. It's a Hegelian dialectic and the favorite tool of Marxists. And not only I think that, Pierre Rochard is talking about this. He's calling it the apocalyptic doomsday cult. And down here, he's talking crypto orthodoxy. So yeah, I agree with all this. Crypto, not Bitcoin, requires this kind of thinking to function. And I've not really gotten this super straight in my mind, but I know there's a connection here. That you have to believe this certain type of thing for crypto to exist at all. Not Bitcoin, but crypto, the crypto industry, crypto scams. So it naturally places a founder or influencer as the Gnostic source of hidden wisdom. Even though everything looks like a scam, that's only because you don't have the right consciousness. We Bitcoiners are simultaneously closed-minded and ask too many questions to see the true utility of altcoins. Crypto shielded and nurtured these types because that's all they ever had to sell people, false narratives. I'm still trying to work out the connection, but I'm pretty sure there's something there, that this whole idea of selling false claims as a Gnostic kind of globalist Marxist idea, this structure is what crypto is made of. Not Bitcoin, but crypto. It's like a leech on the side of Bitcoin. Okay, continuing on to the next headline. Ripple made Fortress customers hit by security incident whole as part of acquisition. So conversations accelerated last week following the security incident via a third-party analytics vendor, but this opportunity makes sense for Ripple in the long term, said a spokesperson. They had already discussed potential acquisition with Fortress previously. Quote, luckily, Ripple was in a position to act quickly to step in and make customers whole, and there have been no breaches to Fortress technology or systems. Fortress notified customers immediately of the incident when it happened, as they mentioned in their tweets. Okay, and this is my addition. This story is boring. But everybody's talking about it, so we kind of have to mention it in a market update or market review of what's going on out there. I see it as primarily as forced sale due to hack, but also that Ripple is branching out because they know the Ripple coin will be dead sooner or later. So overall, this is a non-story in my opinion. People are using it to jump onto Swan. I don't personally use Swan. I like Swan. I like the guys over there, but I don't know why people would be dogpiling onto Swan. I think people just want to get Corey Clipson for some reason. They got some sort of axe to grind with him, and he's called out a lot of scammers. So it's those scammers that might be financing the people to get back at him. I don't know, but it is what it is. All right, macro headlines. So on Bitcoin and markets, guys, we cover money, macro, geopolitics, all that stuff. My background is in economics. I have a degree in economics and business, but also in military and international affairs and mission planning and top secret stuff. So I have this unique way to look at the world. I don't consider myself maybe an expert in anything other than just Bitcoin, but I think I have a good way to synthesize this information. And so that's what you get here on Bitcoin and markets. Let's move on to the macro stuff. So new India to Europe economic corridor plan out of G20. At the G20 meeting, a group of countries unveiled a new plan to form an economic corridor from India westward through the Persian Gulf and out to the Mediterranean. The eastern half is planned to be building out of ports in India and the Gulf. The western half will be a series of new railways. Notably, China is not party to the deal. And let me just blow this image up so you can see Mumbai, Dubai, through Riyadh. I don't know why they would take this route. I mean, I know why, because they can get Saudi Arabia on board. But that's going to be a hard trek through the desert. They'd be better to go up through here, through Syria and stuff. But then they're going out through Israel and then to Greece. So it's interesting. It's an interesting corridor. But here we have China is not party to the deal. China's Xi Jinping stayed away from the G20 meeting this year, hosted by India. Most commentators thought it was due to less than warm relations between China and India, but perhaps he knew about this economic corridor plan and wanted to save face. So it would be bad if they announced this huge economic corridor, China's left out, and Xi Jinping is sitting there supposed to clap on the side. No, he's not going to go. He's going to save face and not go to that. This new agreement is being touted as a reaction to the Belt and Road Initiative. I've talked in depth about the ill-fated future of the BRI, and I have similar feelings about this new economic corridor. Build it and they will come is not a sound guiding economic principle. On top of that, this is probably the worst time in 100 years to try and build new relationships and economic partnerships. The global economy is going into the can, and an artificial economic corridor will only be a drain on the respective economies. The interesting part here is leaving out the CCP. All right, China's Belt and Road at crossroads as more loans turn sour. So another China story here. Speak of the devil, more BRI loans go bad. Belt and Road countries face mounting trade deficits while hopes for increased access to Chinese market fade. Tough Chinese conditions on BRI-related financing have also led to problems. Struggling to repay its debt, Sri Lanka granted China control over the whatever port on a 99-year lease. Countries are increasingly wary of falling into a debt trap though China rejects the idea. All right, this is what I say. The BRI grew because they lent money on optimistic terms. So these guys, the Chinese businessmen, they went out there and, so Sri Lanka couldn't get an IMF loan. They had to pay 7%. We'll do it for 5%. Okay, how about that? 5%. And we won't even put on conditions. So the IMF wanted to have all these conditions. You had to actually hold elections, not violate human rights, things like that. And you could get the loan for 7%. China won't force you to do any of that. And they'll give it to you for 5%. So they were optimistic. They went out there, they gave all these loans optimistically. You know, a lot of people think that the US and IMF or whoever are purely exploitative, but of course they're not. They require these, just like any banker. When you go get a loan for a house or anything, you have to tell the banker what it's for. You have to prove that you have a job, that you have income. They're not just going to give loans out. I mean, I guess they did right before the great financial crisis, but you know what I mean? It's not good business practice just to give loans out to anybody. So that's what the IMF does. They say, look, we require certain changes to your political system and your economic system, maybe your tax structure, because we don't think you're a good risk. But let me just continue. I think I say that in my paragraph here. There is a reason many of these projects couldn't get funding in the years prior to BRI expansion. And it wasn't because the West wanted to exploit these countries and keep them poor or anything. It is because they were deemed uneconomic and or the country's national credit rating, so to speak, was not good enough to get the terms they needed to build it. Anyone thinking that China cracked the code on making these types of developments were woefully mistaken. The BRI is just another wasteful communist building plan. So build it and they will come. Build it and they will come. I mean, yeah, there's a reason why certain projects around the world, like a good one I've used in the past is the Kenyan train. And it went from like a coastal city, I think. I'd have to look up the map again. Whatever coastal city to their capital, Nairobi, right? And I don't know how many hundreds of miles it is, but it lost money from day one. But the Chinese are the ones that invested. But there's no way that, every day that the Kenyan government operates the train, they are less likely to pay back the loan. In a weird twist, the more every day the government runs that train is another day less, or that they are hurting themselves and paying back the loan, because they're losing money every single day running that train. But they had to have money from China to build it, and China was happy to give it. Now China's not going to get their money back. It is a big fat waste. This happened all over the world with BRI stuff. I mean, you have to ask yourself, like think about those sand shoals, the Chinese are building in the South China Sea. They probably have to be maintained constantly. When you do something against the natural, against nature, it's not going to work out. So if you have a port, say, and you want to build a port in some location that's never in the history of mankind supported a city, let alone a big port, and you think, oh, it's just a matter of money. The Chinese are so smart, they can put their finger on a map and build a gigantic port anywhere in the world and make it flourishing. Then they'll make sure they ship in their products and they'll do trade. That's not how it works, people. Okay, the market naturally grows. And if there hasn't been a port city at a certain place for thousands of years, it's because it doesn't work there. It's not because the evil white man or the evil Westerners are not wanting to give people loans to build their countries, build their economies. It's because we don't get our money back. It's a business decision. And so right from the beginning, when China was doing all these BRI things, and they're building these things where they're uneconomic, the reason why they weren't built there before is because they don't work. But China is going to somehow make it work? No, it's just a communist building plan. It's just a communist scheme. That's what the BRI is. All right, I blabbered on about that. Let's keep going here. Big week for U.S. economic data. So Wednesday is CPI. This is for the U.S. Consensus is for a big month at 0.5% month on month. I think that's going to be high, but I will do my live coverage on Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. Tune in for that on the channels that you're watching right now. And the other one I pointed out was this Empire Manufacturing. We'll see how that comes in. Okay. NATO chief openly admits Russia invaded Ukraine because of NATO expansion. This is an important admission. Of course, it is what the realists have been saying since day one, John Mersheimer and others. I wonder if NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, I think it's Jens, will be called a Putin sympathizer. That's what we were all called when we said Ukraine has no way to win. This was brought on by the West and by NATO. We were called Putin sympathizers, and now the Secretary General of NATO is saying the exact same thing. I haven't written much about the war in Ukraine for a couple reasons. I still follow it almost daily, but it's one of those topics that can get your channel canceled. So I tried to stay away from it as much as I could. All right. It has become stagnant for the last 6 months. Ukraine keeps throwing men against the wall. The massive blitzkrieg, the Ukrainian offensive that was supposed to break through to Sea of Azov has utterly failed, and we'll wait to see about a Russian counterattack. The war has become a black hole for funding, mainly from Washington, which can't go on much longer. It's harder and harder for them to squeeze money out of Washington. I think the most recent approved thing was down to $1 billion, which is obviously still high, but it went from like 100 down to like 40, down to like 6, then down to 1, and we'll see. I mean, they need another 100 billion, and I just don't think that's going to happen. They need 100 billion plus a bunch of artillery shells, more than we can make, a bunch of tanks that we're not going to give them. So it's not looking good. Also, as Germany and Europe wake up to the deindustrialization plan that the Davos, Brussels Marxists have for them, they are probably hoping the bridge between Russia and Germany can be repaired. But Washington doesn't like that. All right, that's it for the macro headlines and the Bitcoin headlines. Like I said, it was a little bit slower week, so I had to go in there and pull out some, deeper headlines that we could talk about. Okay, here is the Bitcoin chart, and it is already old. So let me bring up this Bitcoin chart again. We're going to go down to the hourly. Getting a pretty nice bounce here on the hourly. Up to 25,104 again. So that's pretty nice. As you can see, we have a death cross here on the daily, which tends to, and I wrote about this on the Market Pro, that tends to attract the price funnily. Just like a golden cross will tend also to attract the price because it is, once again, a Schelling point. People are looking at it. People are putting money around it, bids and asks and stuff. But that 25,000 was a Schelling point as well down here. So we'll see. Maybe the price rallies up towards this. That would be interesting in just a couple of days if it goes all the way up to 27,000. But a little bit of a strong bounce right here. Let's go back to the report. This morning, we are finally getting a little price action, not in the direction we want. Okay. I'm a little surprised that the death cross did not have more significant impact on the price. I showed lots of examples on the Pro. Pretty much every time there's a death cross, you can see a movement of the price in a direction towards the death cross in the history of Bitcoin. All right. I have been expecting a test of 25,000 and even perhaps triggering stop losses placed there. If that happens, price will drop rapidly and recover quickly. Below is the Binance USD chart. So let's take a look at this. People were talking about this morning, that this could be a cause of the sell-off down to 2006 at the time of writing, 206 at the time of writing, kind of pulling out all stops to get this Binance token stabilized. I saw a tweet from, I think it was Joe Consorti, and he thinks it's as good as done, that it's going down to the next big previous support and resistance was at $46. I mean, all of these people will be liquidated. Whatever leverage there is still left from Binance token is going to be liquidated. I think Joe Consorti was also saying something like, Binance is under the spotlight right now, so they can't move coins and do any funny business to save their BNB. So while I think they're more solvent than FTX was, I think FTX was completely insolvent. They were just a big scam show. But I think Binance is better than that. They technically are solvent, I think. But there is some leverage there. And they don't want the leverage to blow up. You're solvent until you're not, right? That's how the saying goes. If a stop loss dip is aggressively bought today, we should expect a little upward price action into the death cross, at least. I don't expect a sell-off to new lows that stays down there. We should end the week higher. All right. Mining headlines. Ted Cruz is saying some great things about Bitcoin. You couldn't ask for better understanding by a politician. When I read the story, I was like, whoa. he's saying everything perfect, not just like really good for a politician, but perfect. Senator Cruz spoke to the positive benefits Bitcoin mining is having on the Texas grid this week on Fox News Radio. Cruz said that Bitcoin mining can operate like a battery, describing Bitcoin miners' role in demand response programs. Bitcoin miners are able to monetize the excess capacity that would go to waste on an average day, but that capacity can be curtailed in seconds, releasing the energy back to the grid when needed. It's essentially an emergency reservoir of power. I think that's one of the tools we can utilize to enhance resilience of the grid, Cruz concluded in the Fox News interview. So big politicians, I mean, we've been talking a lot about politicians talking about Bitcoin. This is a politician speaking directly about Bitcoin mining, which in a way that he gets it. I mean, talking about Bitcoin as a battery, talking about it being there to instantly curtail energy consumption and balance the grid. Like this is, people are understanding this. Our message is getting out there. All right, continuing on. Environmental group blasts ERCOT. That's the Texas electricity company. Policy. They blast their policy to pay cryptocurrency miners, Bitcoin miners, to stop operating during peak power demand. Not surprised that airheaded environmentalists can't grasp this. Quote, this is what they say, this airhead. This is absurd that we're going to pay this company 30, good Lord, guys, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble reading this. This is absurd that we're going to pay this company $31 million to stop using electricity when, you know, the rest of us all are not getting compensated for reducing our electricity use. Oh my God. Hey, genius, it's called a demand response. What do you want us to do? Send everyone a text message or notification when we're supposed to turn off your AC? Bitcoin miners can instantaneously respond to these types of emergencies. I mean, these environmentalists are starting to get on my nerves because they're so dumb. They're so dumb. All right, moving down here, difficulty and hash rate. Bitcoin's difficulty adjusted down by 2.6% last week. This was less than earlier estimates of up to negative 6%. So yeah, early in the difficulty period, it was supposed to be 6%. Then it went down to 2.6%. So I think that's a good sign that the hash rate rallied in the second half of the difficulty period, despite price being so droopy and low. But that's all I say about that. Let's move on to the mempool. The mempool has exploded this week to close to 52-week highs. I didn't know exactly how high this last little dot was over here, but you know, there's just a period. I think this was mid-May and then mid-March where the mempool was this high, and fees are still manageable. I mean, they've been this high several weeks in this entire last 52-week period. But I say, despite that, the fees being paid have remained more subdued than the peak of the mempool back in May. All right. And that's it for mining. Let's go on to Lightning. Bcashers add to their drive chain attack with FUD about Lightning. The coordinated fork attack via drive chains is being pushed directly by the discredited and humiliated Bcash wing of the altcoin space. Here is one of their members trying to say Lightning is prone to spam attacks. And this is, I don't know, Nikita something. Don't know how to say that last name. It's indefinitely funny, but it seems that Lightning is prone to dirt cheap spam attacks. This is hilarious because this is how Lightning is designed to work. Getting 1 Satoshi, 2 Satoshi, something like that. Peter Todd responded, and I don't always agree with Peter Todd, but he was like, yeah, this is exactly how Lightning is supposed to work. Congratulations. Welcome to Bitcoin. So that was the news about Lightning. And I said, oh, people started putting invoices saying, spam me, spam me. So that's funny. Funny little story. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week. Bitcoin Fundamentals Report number 256 is in the can. You can subscribe at bitcoinandmarkets.com. You can follow me on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter at Ansel Linner, and Telegram, t.me/Bitcoin and Markets. Support the show on bitcoinandmarkets.com. If you would like, share this content out there. Appreciate everyone who supports the show, everyone who's in the community over there on Telegram. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.